All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our fourth NanoSec EDU sharing session. All right, today we have two considered famous speakers in IT security, right? So to share their experience on threat intelligence, in incident response, right? They'll be sharing quite a lot of resources. So let's pay attention to them. All right. So before we officially start, all right, NanoSec has an announcement, all right, which is Global Cybersecurity Cam is currently recruiting for participants. All right. So I will be pasting the URL in the chat box, so you all can just have a look later on. All right, so this Global Cybersecurity Cam or GCC is consisting of currently 8 countries, all right, including Malaysia. So unfortunately, we can't really travel to the hosting company, hosting country, which is Taiwan in 2022. All right, so it will be online. So each country will select 6 students as a maximum. So Malaysia was given 6 slots. So feel free to send in your CV into the email that I'm going to provide later on. It's edualias@nanosec.asia. All right, so yeah, you can have a look on the website, which is https://gcc.ac. Right, so the list of topics, the list of trainers, right? So you'll be making friends with participants from different countries. All right, so hope that you get selected and have fun on January next year. Right, so let's move on to our sharing session today. All right, so our first speaker, right, will be here's Adnan Muhammad Shukor. Right, he's a cyber intelligence specialist in Celcom Axiata Berhad. Here's Adnan, an enthusiastic Gen Y in the IT security industry with vast experience over the past decade. The industry he had ventured into has built him a well-known reputation of being up to date in the niche area and passionate in his work. Right, his work is his hobby. Right. He obtained a lot of technical certification and was given numerous awards. And one of them is ISC2, Asia Pacific Information Security Leadership Achievements, or ISLA in 2012. In his previous organization, he's involved in threat intelligence and now venturing into threat hunting, as both are an added value of incident response that consists in his job line and his current employment. Right, as you can see on the screen, this is his topic today. All right, and without further ado, I'll pass the floor to him.
All right, thank you. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. Intelligence lead defense is the topic that I choose for today, and I will be specifically talking in the context of educational sharing for focusing on the university students. So my intention today is more on the interest diversion. So when we talk about cybersecurity as a career, most of the university students might be thinking about pen testing, red teaming, or reverse engineering and stuff. But there's also another domain that we can also look for and explore as part of the career and so on. Let's move to the disclaimer first. I've planted chiku tree before, but it's ended up just a tree without any fruits. So my opinion might be biased. I tried many things and some of them fail. So correct me if I'm wrong. And I will share whatever my experience, whether it's successful or fail. And it's my opinion and nothing to do with my employer. And also take a good care of your health. This is just a new disclaimer that I want to put in every presentation slide from today onwards. I just had a minor surgery last week, been warded in HUKM for one night, and it really teach me the value of the healthy life. Meaning I heard all the screams, I heard all the tears in the ward. So take a good care of your health, and career and studies is also just another portion of your life. So again, take a good care of your health. So as mentioned, it's more on the diversion of interest, and also as a introduction to cyber threat intelligence for those who are currently in final year, especially going to start working in the near future. It's also a pleasure for me to be placed for this slot, placed after Anik and also Muhammad Ali, which is to me a recognition for the next generation, for those who are going to be in the cybersecurity. They are really talented and the future star of cybersecurity. That's why I say it's a pleasure to be assigned a slot right after them for the nanosec sharing session. So for cybersecurity, as mentioned, so if we talk about cybersecurity as a career, for most of the students, they might think about pen testing, doing vulnerability scanning, doing some, you name it. Mostly we talk about offensive. So which one is more rockstar? The more you hack, or the more you obtain from the finding of your job, it could be lead to a title of rockstar for what you have been doing, or for what you choose to explore in the future. But there's also a different domain where you can probably start to explore or start to look into the knowledge on how you can divert your own current skill into the defense side of the security. So if we talk about job in cybersecurity, this search was done yesterday in LinkedIn Job and also JobStreet. It's quite a lot, specifically in Malaysia. Currently, the opening for security is a lot. Meaning the future of security is there, and potentially by graduating, which is in the domain that related to security, we promise you a job in the next future. But if every one of you keep on thinking that doing offensive is the way to go, doing offensive is the only area that you want to go when you join the market, basically you are at you are putting the stress, or you are putting the all the pressure into hiring of the pen tester or the red teamer, or the offensive side of the security. But basically you can start to explore a domain where potentially something that is not really being highlighted by the Rockstar concert spotlight. Meaning there's another domain that you can also look for to start to venture as part of your career line later. So again, when doing offensive, mostly it get also associated with red team, although the red team itself is a specific exercise, but the term is oftenly used for offensive security. So there's other term or job role that is associated for offensive security, and mostly these are the job role that being aimed by the graduates or by the student the moment they try to enter the security industries. I want to be a pen tester, I want to be a red teamer, I want to be a vulnerability researcher. And if 10, 14 of you, and all of you start to look for this job role later in the next 6 months, for example, and now you are having a very strong competition, a tough one, because everyone is focusing on this specific opening, for example. While on the other side of the security industry, on the defense side, also known as blue team, as some of the associate term for it, there's always another position or another opportunity for you to start to explore, and your knowledge currently in offensive can also be applied in blue team without really having to sit for new course, get for new certificate, and so on. So among the role for the blue team or the defensive side are as per the listed on the slide. And we tend to focus back on the title, which is the Intelligent Fleet Defense. So overall of the talk, we'll be talking about the defensive side of the security and focusing more specifically on the threat intelligence. So for those who are not yet familiar with threat intelligence, while you try to get yourself prepared to join the industry, for example, assuming that you are in the scenario of the guy who aimed to be one of these, but today I try to influence you to become one of these, or specifically a threat intelligence analyst. For those who are not yet familiar, what is not threat intelligence? Threat intelligence is not a crystal magic ball, a role that can tell you anything, everything precisely. So that is not threat intelligence. But in certain organizations, they might think that those who work as threat intelligence analysts might know everything, which is basically not the fact that we are trying to convey here. So again, threat intelligence is not a crystal magic ball. Threat intelligence analysts won't know anything, everything in precisely. So there's a process and there's a flow of the intelligence itself that explain what is threat intelligence as a whole. So what is threat intelligence? This is a combination of definition from Gartner and I think CrowdStrike. So basically, is a overall process, end-to-end process on how do you making sure that the information you obtain is something that significantly relevant to your organization, how you are able to make it meaningful to your organization, how you are able to make it actionable by your organization, and also understandable as a flow of the whole intelligence. Intelligence give you a better decision, a better idea on making a decision. Like you probably heard before, if you are talking about, for example, a specific malicious domain, are we going to specifically just block it and we are going to be safe? If for a traditional security practitioner, probably if a domain gets shared and you mention that this domain is malicious, blocking the domain is probably the way to go, and you probably will be safe after blocking the domain. But with the context of threat intelligence, you'll be able to know why is this domain is classified as malicious, rather than just blocking the domain. What else you need to look for, where you need to block it, or what action you need to be taken based on the information you gathered from a particular source of information. So you have a better decision what to do as part of the whole process of your defense team. Intelligence also will be able to allow you to understand better about the attacker, because if you rely solely on the, for example, hashes, IP, domain, and so on, which is called indicator of compromise, IOC, you probably miss the way the attacker move. You probably miss the way that or the footprint that you should look for on the PC server that potentially has been compromised before. And this information we the way that the attacker the TTP, the tactic, technique, and procedure used by the attacker will also help you to understand the attacker more, and also will lead you to a better decision while doing the analysis in the defense side. Last but not least, basically this should be in the first point, where you don't want your bosses, the CEO, CTO, CIO, to question you about a security event that happens around you if they know it first from the news. For example, if there is a breach in your competitor last night and your CEO only knew it from the news, I think it shows that something is missing between the communication of the technical team of your company to the management, because the message is not delivered. Are we prepared to face the same incident if it get attacking, if the attackers start to attack us, or we are already in the phase where we are ready, prepared, and we are aware about the incident, and these are the stage of the step we already been taken, or these are the steps that we are going to take in the next future to prevent this such incident from happening. So having the message conveyed to the management at the right time before they read it from the news or get asked by the board or director or partners or so on is the state where the CEO or the management will feel that they are safe, they are in the good state, and they are having the right team, so that you will be in the right position to still work with the company for a period of time. So these as a so-called explanation of what the threat intelligence, but these are just the explanation of what overall threat intelligence is. So the intelligence still, as a process, a part of the organization, they still require a specific process on how you process the intelligence, what need to be done, who need to communicate to. And these are basically part of the BAU of a specific organization and how you define the process for the organization. So when we talk about the process specifically for intelligence, there are a few framework that you can refer to, but specifically for the organization, there is no right or wrong on how you deploying or run the intelligence team, because some organization might be focusing specifically on blocking IPs or domain and stuff. But some of our organization might want to know more on the attacker activities, even what happening in the news today. You also need to be summarized and sent to the team and stuff. So the readiness, the maturity, the process might be different from one organization to another. So these are one of the key that you need to bear in mind if you're going to explore into this kind of opportunity. So since we have the next speaker from Kaspersky, I'm taking this recent blog post from Kaspersky as per the title mentioned on the North Korea predator. Okay, basically, just to give some idea on how what is the daily routine of threat intelligence analyst BAU, business as usual, what they do in the daily uh, um, daily activity, daily business day, and was it something that really rocket science or something just out there, and it's just that need to plug to the process that's supposed to be made by the organization. So taking this blog post from Kaspersky. So if you refer to the most of the companies recently, if they come out with the blog post technical analysis, they will also list this indicator of compromise, usually at the last or at the bottom of the article. So when you refer to this indicator of compromise, right? When you refer to this indicator of compromise, you know that these threat actors sending out a malicious document through potentially phishing. You can read it through in detail in the article itself. And then these malicious documents start to download malware and start to plan and start to do activities on your laptop if you are the victim of this particular campaign. So as a threat analyst, what they do is they read through the news on the cyber threat, what really happened, whether or not it's related to the organization. The threat landscape or the threat model is defined on the organization itself, meaning something happened or some vulnerability. Is it uh, something that is part of your company? Is it something relevant to your company and stuff? So the threat intelligence will do that filtering and also to ingest the information in the article itself. Right. For example, this one, the threat indicator or the indicator of compromise is being shared. So one of the things that being done by the threat intelligence analyst in the daily basis, potentially they will be able to take this hash shared by this article here and do a cross check. Even though we are not targeted by this campaign, for example, because it's targeting a specific human rights activist, but for my organization, if this happen, is my antivirus able to pick up this type of malicious document? So they will be able to do a cross check whether this hash is being be able to be detected by the antivirus, for example. And if they do have the EDR capabilities, whether the EDR will be able to detect this malicious document based on the behavior that performed by this specific malicious document in this campaign. Although it's not related directly to the organization, but this is the opportunity for them to also check whether the current investment, technology and control that they have, is it sufficient if the threat actors start to aim and focus on their company as a next victim and so on. So they can start to take these hashes, do a comparison whether it get detected or not, whether the current control is sufficient or not. And above that, if they start to implement and start to have the mindset of the um, analyst or the investigative mindset, they start to think about the tactic, the other technique used, and also the procedure used by the attacker on how we can break the chain of this message or this attack. Meaning, if someone sending out this spear phishing document through email, meaning a DOC with active contents like VB script and so on, if it is sent through email, are we capable to detect it in the email filtering in the first layer of as a first layer of defense? Meaning, if we are the next victim of the similar threat actor or a similar campaign, are we able to block spear phishing or email with the attachment of DOC with active content in it? If we are able to block it, we are potentially reducing the risk of the company from being attacked by the attacker. Those are such example of the daily activity of threat intelligence analysts that try to highlight so that you might know what is the daily routine look like for the threat intelligence analyst. But again, the specific process is specifically designed for the company, or one company might have a different process from another one, but we are going to share a few model or framework that you might refer to have at least a complete coverage of the process and also the intelligent life cycle. So threat intelligence is not just about blocking IOC or reading news what being shared in the market. It's also about uh, analyzing and also making sure that the information they obtain is actionable and meaningful, meaning as part of the production in the slide. And also, whenever it is actionable or meaningful, it needs to be sent to the relevant party or relevant automation, relevant tool, so that the information will be something that is, um, I mean, like from something that just you read on the news, it get blocked, it get analyzed, it get blocked, or it get informed to a certain party, and it will become a complete life cycle. So when mentioned about collection, it's not just article that you read. Some of the effort out there is already quite established in collecting, for example, malicious IP from different sources, and they host it into a single repository. If you know that the reputation of the bad IP shared there is good, you probably want to block them automatically in your environment. But if you are not sure about the reputation or the quality was of the IP get shared in that particular resources, you might want to analyze first or put it into alert mode so that you'll be able to see if there's some alert or some detection in your environment. It might something interest you to look deeper and to start to analyze. So probably you need to work with the incidents team or forensics team to analyze what really happened and why it get triggered, whether the quality is bad or it's something that really happened in your environment lead to the trigger of the alert. So the collection, again, is not just the plain or the full-blown article like this. It could be something which is already ready to be ingested, like process IP, process hashes, and so on. And it could be something which from Twitter, from chat, and so on. For those who are already familiar with, for example, offensive security, you've been doing pen testing for a couple of years already, and you know the way that the attacker move from one server to another. Those information can also be as part of the source of the collection, meaning the information you already know being collected, being analyzed, and be produced into something can be translated into detection. For example, taking one example that you probably move from one server to another server, and then you start to do memory dump to get the password. So this behavior or this tactic, known technique, known tool use for example, mimikatz and so on, can be as part of the point where you start to write some rule. If this movement happen, if this reading from memory dump into a file, potentially that could possibly an indicator of a known tactic, a known tool, or known technique used by the attacker. So it's not just specifically IP hashes, domain, and so on, but also the behavior itself also can be reflected into this journey. Right. So as part of the daily BAU being taken as an example just now, there are things that potentially threat intel analysts don't tell others, but actually that is part of their daily routine activity as well. For example, to prepare the threat bulletins, this is where they do read all the news, do read all the coverage, Twitter, and so on, and then prepare whatever relevant to the organization and share it back to the management or the monitoring team, so that they're aware of the current state of the what really happened and the current state of the company, whether or not we are prepared for that particular threat. So preparing this threat bulletin is something not so rock star, not so cool, because you are doing some write-up in daily basis to summarize what really happened and the state of readiness for the organization. Probably that is things that won't be highlighted by the threat intel analyst, but these are the reality of one of the activity of what they are doing in daily basis. So beside that, threat intel analysts also work as the source of truth, meaning they need to validate information that get asked to them, just like the portal sebenarnya.my. This sebenarnya.my is a portal where you can refer whether to check whether this news to get forwarded is correct or not. Same goes to the intelligence team. Usually we get this question, whether is this really happen? Is this really a big threat? Is it going to impacting us and so on? So some of the information is just basically rumor. So you need to basically clear the misunderstanding, or you need to clarify what really happened, what's the current state of readiness, what basically you are facing, and so on. And we have become the reference as a source of truth. This is also something probably not being shared by the analyst. It doesn't really look cool, but it's really happened and really part of the daily daily job. Something which is also not being highlighted, basically threat intel analysts will help the organization to reduce the security gaps. Just again, go into this example. If you know that this malicious document is not being detected by your antivirus, you are using antivirus ABC at the moment, it's not capable to detect this antivirus, not just this, it's not capable to detect this malicious document, not just this malicious document, but also whenever you get executed, the payload downloaded also not be able to be detected by the antivirus. So you know that there's a gap in the organization with the current control and the current investment that you have put in. You are not able to detect that particular sample, for example. Are we going to renew the license for that particular product? So it's something that can be thrown, a question that can be thrown by the intel analyst to the potentially architecture team and ask whether it is something worth to start to look into. For example, a new product to start to look into, a new capability like EDR to start to explore, or is something that we need to get this sample submitted to the antivirus company so that they will be able to detect it and work closely with the antivirus company. So basically, they are also there to reduce the security gap of the company. Same goes to improving security controls. Meaning if it is not detected, whether you work with the vendor or you put your own rules so that it get detected. So even though the same technology used by other company, but you with that particular technology with your own rule, you are basically more protected compared to others. You can also do that, but again, process is really specifically tied to your organization. It could be different from one company to another, but what threat intel analysts do, they also improve, help to improve security control of the organization. Threat intel analysts basically also work as an internal coach or trainer For example, if the detection comes from a monitoring team, they often get back to you and ask why this detection triggered, how to verify whether this is a false positive or not, and if it is a true positive, who could be the threat actor behind it. So those questions will be thrown to you, and you'll be there to answer them, coach them how to do it, how to analyze it, and so on. So if you already have the knowledge in the first place, doing offensive, answering to those questions, how it get detected, why it get detected, it's already there in back of your head. You can simply answer that, and you are also there. Basically, the knowledge is also there to help you to reduce the gap and also to improve the security control in the first place. So even though you are already halfway or half late into the offensive security job, your plan to enroll in the next 6 months, for example, if it is not your luck to get into one of the role, basically, again, your knowledge and your interest can still be applied in this domain in the defensive team. Uh, we are talking about specifically threat intelligence team, but nowadays it's quite blended, meaning the intelligence team is already part of the SOC, and some of it it blended into a bigger role. So the knowledge itself of the offensive can again apply in the defensive team, whether you are doing intelligence or a part of a bigger defensive team or the blue team. So again, speaking about the intelligence lead defense, how the intelligence basically will so-called lead the defense team or the blue team as a whole. So the type of the intelligence, how do I minimize this? The type of intelligence basically falls under a few categories. And this one from Flashpoint that segregate the tactical or operational and strategies type of intelligence. So those tactical team, basically from the analysis you have performed, from the IOC you get, from the enrichment you have performed, you get this info and you can just pass them to SOC team to monitor. You can pass them into SIM to trigger alert. You can block them into firewall, IPS, IDS, and so on. But at the same time, blocking this blocking this more to IOC, this kind of blocking is specifically for the specific IOC that you put in. So you might miss the bigger infrastructure, you might miss the tactic used by the attacker, and so on. So this is where the operational part of the intelligence kick in, where you can share a bigger knowledge of what really happened of the intelligence you are gather with the threat hunter, meaning this incident happened in Russia, attack use this method to penetrate the main firewall, and then lateral movement using these vulnerabilities and start to do credential dumping and start to move to the domain controller and so on. So this information will then be translated into threat hunter daily activity. They will hunt for this potential sequence of activity, known tools, known tactic, and so on, and be able to tell whether if there any footprint left in your organization that could possibly indicate that you have been previously compromised by the threat actor. Or you can also work with the vulnerability management team. For example, we are talking about this specific vulnerability being exploited by a bunch of ransomware group and deploying ransomware straight away after they have managed to exploit this vulnerability. So you might then work with the vulnerability team, whether ask, are we prone to this vulnerability? What's the patch level of this vulnerability in our environment? What's the plan for the next patch cycle, and so on. So on the operational side, it's more something which is not that straightforward compared to tactical. But again, you are flowing the information that you have obtained for the intelligent collection perspective into something which is meaningful and also actionable for the whole defense team, and not just specifically SOC, for example, or for the monitoring. Last but not least, on the operation, I would highlight on the incident response team, because whenever an incident happened, triggered, or detected, they will usually get in touch with the intelligence team to get more information. If this malware detected in our environment, what could probably the vector that lead to this malware infection? Is it coming from phishing? If it is coming from phishing, who else received the same email from the attacker, and whether or not it already get clicked? And if somebody else already get clicked, what's the file already get stolen and get uploaded and so on. So you also work very closely with the incident response team to improve the internal process of the whole as a whole defense mechanism capability of that particular organization. It's also help, and also the intelligence strategic intelligence side also help you to um, to um, give a proper highlight to the management, saying that these are the current landscape. Are we prepared, so that they will be able to get some budget to, let's say, improve the perimeter security in terms of IPS or WAF, which is not currently yet in place. Or if you highlight something which is um, these are the current attack which is relevant to our industry. Even our competitor just recently being hit with it. We are at this stage of readiness. We are prepared, and we are in good state of continue to operate because we are already have the investment or control in place. Those such information will also help you to convey that to the management, saying that the team is now in a very good state. Their business is in the good state, so that they don't have the worry, and also they have this the so-called confident to respond back whenever they get asked about the particular threat or that particular incident. So this is also important to give to convey to the management, saying that the whole security team is basically at the par of let's say a competitor, or to the whole company security team of that particular company is doing very well and within a same par as a let's say the company that potentially the management look pandang tinggi, look high, or really respect in terms of the security capability and so on. So it shows that the investment is worthwhile. It shows that the daily operation of the security team really reflecting the result for the whole organization as a whole. So when choosing or making a decision whether you are going to take a particular role or you are going to reject it, is potentially the way how you get measured by the end of the year, because that reflect your KPI or your performance for the year. Meaning, if you do this, for example, if you are doing offensive security, or let's say if I represent back all my findings within the years, shows that I'll be able to penetrate this, I have found these bugs, I managed to bypass this control. So this considered as a very good performance for me for this particular year. But how about intelligence? Are you going to measure it quantitatively or qualitatively? Basically, there's no right or wrong. Some of the organizations still using quantitative measurement. They count how many IOC being processed. They count how many news being read. They count how many message being conveyed to the management, and so on. So this is still a quantitative measurement. There is nothing wrong with that. It depends on your company maturity and company's way on how they look into intelligence itself. But more importantly, and as a good intelligent analyst, you might have this mindset of the qualitative way on how intelligence get measured, so that you'll be able to also divert your daily activity into a more quality way of doing works. Meaning, for example, if you do a threat intelligence threat bulletins, you read something, you share something, you share the action with the relevance team, how many of them get translated into a proper business process? Meaning, if a monitoring team receive a few IP from the intelligence team, whether they are going to monitor it, is it part of their process? If it is yes, then it is something that is quality, meaning that it get monitored, it get into a process, it get adapted by other team. Quality-wise, is a good quality of information being produced by you. It shows that it's also being adapted and also being consumed by other teams. Process workflow is almost the same thing, whether the intelligence also being consumed by other party and also reflect as a meaningful information. And some of the company also start to measure if the CEO or if the management or the leadership teams feel that they are well informed about the current trend and the situation of the threats of the overall threat landscape compared to the readiness of the company. This is also a very good qualitative way on how to measure intelligence. It shows that it get delivered, the message get conveyed, delivered correctly to the right party. They will understand it, they consume it, and they are able to tell even the higher level what is the readiness, what is the current state, and so on. And last but not least, for the defense mechanism perspective, defense team perspective, whether the intelligence help you to mitigate or to manage the incident earlier compared to the state where if the incident happened without the intelligence information. For example, if you put in some type of indicator, if this behavior happened in servers, and then if this tools detected in servers, you could be probably a victim of a targeted attack. So if this information get correlated and get alerted, well, of course you will be able to detect and stop the incident as fast as the alert triggered, meaning you already know incident happened. You just probably need to check whether it is a true positive or it could be some event from the system administrator, and you'll be able to detect the incident earlier compared to the state if you don't have the information in hand in the first place. It not get detected probably only after someone posted the database for sale of your company in the dark web and so on. So this intelligence really help you to get into shorter detection time and shorter incident mitigation time. If it get measured as part of your qualitative measurement, it shows that your organization is on the matured organization side and not just focusing on the quantitative measurement. I don't want to talk specifically on the process, on what need to be done at the IOC processing level, what framework need to be used, or what platform need to be used that suit my organization, because it could be different from one organization to another. So if you work in a banking organization, for example, they want to automate most of the correlation and then alerting and even blocking potentially in their organization. While for a smaller organization, probably they want more quality output in terms of intelligence. They just want to know whether the control that they have invested, they have spent thousands of dollars on the IPS, whether it is on the par with the mechanism used by the threat actor in the real world incident that happen nowadays in the threat landscape. So potentially they don't want to automate as many as blocking and so on, but again, process is different from one company to another. That's why depending on the company that you're going to join, probably from the job description, you'll be able to tell and assume what will be as part of the process in the intelligence flow or threat intelligence process as a whole. So it's nothing fixed, nothing right or wrong. It depends on the maturity and the state of the company itself, whether they are fully ready or fully matured and fully prepared for the integration of the intelligence. I will stop here. I'll open questions, and I will open for any question, and try to focus more on I don't know, job related question. It could be something that I can really focus on for this Q&A session.
All right, thank you for the insightful sharing session, especially something that analyst doesn't tell others. Something we've just realized today. Right. There's one question in the Zoom chat regarding do we block the IOC if antivirus already detect it? And IOCs copy paste from feeds or need to find for it?
All right, I was reading the second part of the question just
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so the first part of the question, do we block the IOC if the AV already detect it? So the answer is, again, depend on the process of the specific organization. But the most important thing is, if it get detected by the AV, you might want to see how it get there in the first place, not to reinvent the wheel. It already get blocked. Now is the analysis part to identify how it get there and why it get there. Potentially that is more important. But again, it depends on the process. It could be my suggestion could be wrong in certain organizations process, but probably that is the most common process that apply in most organizations nowadays. And while for the second one, copy and paste from feed and need to find right. So the second part, most of the threat intelligence platform, if you are working and start to use a platform, most of the platform already have the integration for those who provide those effort to provide free IOC sharing. I can name a few OTX and so on. So those free IOC sharing is already there, potentially quite matured enough, and your platform can just pull the information shared by this freely compiled and shared IOC. But you need to understand in your collection phase, go back. In your collection phase, you need to understand first the quality of what you pull, whether the reputation of the source is very good, and you don't want to end up blocking legitimate domain or IP just because it get listed in the list that you pull. While for highly trusted sources, for example, a paid one, to mention again, since we have a speaker letter from Kaspersky, if you get it from a trusted source, for example, from Kaspersky, you probably have already the trust in the brand name itself, the company that they represent, their previous work and their reputation. So you probably just want to automate everything get shared by this organization. So during this collection, you already need to identify whether the quality is there, the false positive rate and so on, and that fall back to the previous state in the life cycle there, which is the planning. There basically there's some homework need to be there lah, not just to copy paste everything. Uh, you don't want to end up blocking legitimate IP or domain. It's just because you simply trust a source of the IOC that sharing the IOC that sharing the indicator, and you automate the blocking from there.
Yeah. Do we have other questions?
The source of reference for the inter-measurement. Salam Tuan, may I get the source of reference for the threat intel measurement? All right, for the threat intel measurement, I think the best reference you can refer to is NIST framework, NIST framework. They give you score on a certain maturity of your cybersecurity readiness in your organization. So it consists of incident response, consists of forensic, pen testing, intelligence, as well as automation and so on. So each part of the pillar, we have their own scoring mechanism, and you can use that to build your maturity framework for the intelligence team. And if it is too rigid for intelligence, you might want to look into a bigger picture. For example, the DFIR team as a whole, or monitoring team or SOC team as a whole, not just to specifically into intelligence alone as to build the maturity framework. So again, NIST is one of the reference you can refer.
Right, NIST framework is the one. All right. Okay, there's one questions from Lai. All right. Any tips or recommendation for developing a honeypot for a university project? I think this is should be a degree students.
Okay. Honeypot, if you are developing a honeypot, make sure it's not just yet another honeypot. There's a lot of honeypot project out there. You probably just want to modify them, but you need to focus on the objective of developing a new features in the honeypot. For example, you want to look into something which is being more targeted. So you don't simply deploy port 22 open facing the internet. So you might want to have a fake OWA, OWA Exchange Web of Outlook Web. What's OWA stand for? But the web
Yeah,
version of the Outlook.
Outlook, yeah.
So you might want to deploy fake honeypot that serving OWA facing the internet. It's very common, port 443, 480, serving OWA facing the internet. People scan it, people exploit it and start to deploy, I don't know, nowadays ransomware. So not just a normal service, but you make sure you start to focus on something which is really up to the current threat landscape lah. So then you meet the objective of deploying a new honeypot, or else it become yet another honeypot, and probably all the features is just similar to a previous project. So make sure you have something unique in your hand.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. All right. There's a question from a collaborator with Hack. Right. In terms of career progressing, how, as an example, a student could start in blue team and progress in their career up to what level they can go? I think, yeah, this question is very suitable for fresh graduates.
Right. So I tend to highlight when you have offensive security in your mind and start to divert you to blue team just now. But in blue team alone, if you start even with the monitoring SOC level 1, just to monitor log and just to monitor alert, if alert trigger, then escalate it to the next level and so on, you can learn a lot from there. Meaning, if you see an alert occur, how to first, potentially you want to verify whether or not it's false positive, how it get triggered, whether it is common or it's more target common in threat, we call it commodity, or like Emotet or this malware is common, we call it commodity, or it's something like targeting specifically your organization, we call it targeted attack, those related to APT, state sponsor and so on. So you can learn from there. Or you are not yet there required to do the analysis, but you can take the opportunity when it happens, what's next, or you escalate it to the next level, they do the analysis, and yes, you'll be able to buddy with the next level and start to learn the new stuff. From the alert detection, escalation, and then you now have the ability to identify this is false positive due to this, because I already learned what's the real attack look like. I already know that this is part of commodity. It get detected because someone just downloaded it from the email and so on. So now you probably sit in the level 2 of SOC monitoring. While you are in level 2, you potentially want to know more in terms of, let's say, reverse engineering. Let's say if you found a malware, what will be the callback server embedded in the malware? Or could be something like, if I have this detection, I want to automate the whole process from alert triggering up to the auto scan the machine. You probably want to go next into automation engineer or reverse engineer. There's a lot of the branches of opportunity there, but one of the thing that I can foresee will be the next thing in cybersecurity is SOA, security, automation and orchestration, more or less automation for security. In terms of, let's say, I just gave you one example just now. If an alert triggered from one PC, malware triggered found in one PC, I don't want to manually go there and scan one by one and make sure that everything else is in good place. But we can just automatically send the signal saying that after it get detected, I want this machine to be auto scan. If more malware found, and then we be auto isolate from the network, and we will send the forensic team there. So those, it could be something that you want to look into for the next career progress as well. You want to talk about analytic, data scientists, and so on. The opportunity for those pillars in cybersecurity is also there, but it will be too niche, and probably the offering for that particular role is not that much. So take one step at a time. So start to make a progress from, for example, level 1 to level 2, and make sure all the knowledge get translated into something meaningful, and you can learn from there to start to adapt new knowledge and technology.
Yeah, we started off with alerts and logs, escalation, then deeper into the threat and process and automation, and going to specific pillars of different domains. Right, that would be a quick summarize for what we have got from Adnan. Right, it's just like sukan sekolah. Right? At first, you just run as fast as possible. Then when you go to level 2, then okay, you need to take care of diet, you need to take care of physio and all the different nutritions and physiotherapy and so on, right? So yeah, a step at a time, right? All right. If there's no other questions, and we shall. Oh, okay. Dion has a question. Just one moment.
Hey.
Hi, Dion.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Yep.
Hey, great. Great talk, by the way, Adnan. I do have, I think, 2 questions. So, firstly is, what if I understand that in order for intelligence to be produced and disseminated, you would firstly need to collect them. So I want to know whether if I want to understand how can you collect and organize these data collection without using a tip.
Sure.
Okay.
So without using a threat intelligence platform, so that's the question.
Yes.
Collecting and organizing the information without using a threat intelligence platform. So I worked in organization before with very good budget in threat intelligence. They spend really well. I have a very good threat intelligence platform. I enjoy it very much, and I use it a lot. So it simplified the work. It's there, organized, automated. But I also work in an organization that is still currently investing in, still new. I mean, like they are still investing in security. I still use Excel for the so-called threat intelligence platform to collect them and to organize them. But the platform is just the way to orchestrate the whole process. It doesn't mean that without the platform, you cannot really have the intelligence process or intelligence team in your organization. Even with Excel, like communication with the monitoring team, it can still be done through email. It can still be added manually to firewall, SIM, and whatnot. Communication with the threat hunters can be through annual, weekly stand-up. Highlight down what's really happened, what's the tool, what's the current trend, and they translate it into a threat hunting process. And also the SIM team come up with the use cases to detect those technique and procedure and whatnot. So intelligent platform is just there to help you to make sure everything orchestrated, potentially and more user-friendly, and help you to reduce false positive. Is there to check false positive for you for certain obvious false positive. But without threat intelligence platform, it doesn't mean that you cannot run the show. But there's also intelligent platform which is freely available, but it comes with the hidden price where your information there will also be shared with the company that hosting the platform. For example, Risk IQ or OTX by Alienwalk, those are free platform. You can also use them as part of your platform if you want something that looks more organized or help you to disseminate or do checking, do enrichment in one place. Those are free tools they can use as well. And some of the intelligent platform are also free. Mix, for example, Mentees, if it is still alive, I think it's still alive. I mean, like project is still running. Those project are open source. You can use it for free, and it just need a server to run, spin and run the software. So, but again, the platform is just again a centralized way or organized way to do it or to run the show. But without platform, you can still run the show, but it become more manual and a bit more troublesome lah.
Right. Yeah, that does answer my question. I do have another question. Have you personally engaged with an actor in the underground? Because I believe sooner or later, perhaps a threat analyst would have to do so in order to, let's say, confirm or deny a certain source.
Right. Indirectly, yes, I do and we do. But again, depend on the process and the clearance by the company. There's company that doesn't allow you even to go to a certain black market underground forum because you probably end up, I don't know, into trouble and the company don't want you to be bonded, meaning that you are doing it for the sake of work, but you get there caught doing trading stuff and whatnot. You can do up to a certain extent, make sure the clearance from the company is clear, legal team make sure they are aware about it, and most companies are doing it. But if you are subscribing for information or intelligence or even platform from a third party, I don't want to mention name, but there are a few companies that offer you a platform that already been integrated with the, for example, keyword search in underground that match your organization keywords, or validation interface where if you found this information, you can just validate in that particular menu. Is there as part of the platform? Is there as part of subscription? If it's already there, subscribed by your organization, you probably don't need to do that anymore because it's already offered by your vendor or intelligence vendor.
Right. Do you have any like tips and tricks in engaging these actors? Are you allowed to share if possible?
Probably you can engage me offline. We can
Sure.
we can discuss with some of the tricks. It could be too obvious to share, but some of that memang obvious pun is there. Brian Kirk, for example, use the same technique. You can just refer and follow his technique and so on. Probably you can engage offline after this.
Sure, definitely. Thank you.
Right, thank you for the interesting questions. And we have another, okay, I think that's the last question from the session. I mean, there's one more last question regarding the reality. Rehex asks, do threat intel at least pay well? To give an overall to the students, I guess.
Actually, I tried to do a search in JobStreet earlier today and try to get the figure offer for threat intelligence related role. It's not really there. I think I only found one company which show or display the offer. I mean, the amount that they offer for the role. But surprisingly, I was from a kind of slightly different role in the blue team, and I moved to intelligence. Although some of the process is just a normal process I've been doing back then, but now again I do it as a part of intelligence. But with the current role of intelligence, it's also, again, it surprised me that with the same process, the same BAU that I did previously with a different role, but now under threat intelligence role, again to my surprise that this role offer better pay compared to another role, although some of the job description and some of the job role quite overlaps here and there. Probably is too niche. The name is already too niche compared to, for the market, and for niche role and niche skill, usually organization will offer very good pay for the role lah. I don't have the specific range, but believe me, you'll be surprised.
Yeah, never try, never know, right? Especially for fresh graduates. Yeah, all right. Thank you for that. If Adnan is still around for the next hour, I think students can, or anyone in the room can feel free to just follow up with, or just rewind back to rewind the questions back to all our speakers here. All right. So moving on. our next speaker, right, who is Ahmad Zaidi. He's, as intro by our previous speaker, Adnan, right? He's an incident response specialist in Global Emergency Response Team of Kaspersky Lab, based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So he's certified with multiple industry certifications such as GIAC Reverse Engineering Malware, or GRAM, EC Council Certified Network Security Administrator, ENSA, and ITIL version 3. He's an active member in High Technology Crime Investigation Association, HTCIA, Singapore chapter since 2015. His specialties is in digital and cyber forensics, threat intelligence, incident handling and response, cybersecurity operations, cybersecurity exercises, network security, malware analysis, penetration testings, and exploits and zero-day analysis, as well as cloud security. All right. So without further ado, I'll hand the sessions to Ahmad Zaidi.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you for inviting me. By the way, I'm a very small economist, not so popular in information security world. So most of my work is at the background. I'm not too visible. So, but because I was invited, and I know that DFIR specialist is not something that people would like to share. It's very confidential works, type of works, and then some of them don't want to share anything to the public. So, but I try my best today to share to the among the students, but how the life as a DFIR specialist is. So, I hope it's informative to you all, and yeah, I hope you can enjoy it. Okay, so let me introduce myself first. So, so table of content for today is first I will talk about what am I, my background, my little humble journey, and what is our DFIR, introductions, some detailed theory on how is the response process and the career path to become a DFIR specialist, and then I will share about the life as a DFIR specialist is the main topic today, and then then I will share how to become how to make a DFIR or digital forensic incident response as a career for you, and then a skill needed for that, and some DFIR toolbox that you need some tools, some software, what's on, and then there are challenges that you might face if you become a DFIR specialist. I also will share you some trainings, list of training certification needed, books that you can read later on. And then as part of the Kaspersky GERT team, GERT is a Global Emergency Response Team. So I will talk about the team and what we are doing. And then the latest the response report by Kaspersky and threat statistic in 2020, 2021 or 2020, and some I think maybe 2 or 3 sample cases. And then that's all. And then please ask me a simple question, please. I'm not good in presentation. Okay, who am I? Before that, let me give some disclaimer. All opinion expressed are solely my own and do not express the view or opinion of my employer. So I might talk rubbish or might talk not right, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, my background. First of all, I'm not IT student. So I'm from manufacturing engineering graduate. So my previous life is all about machine, with some welding, all kind of engineering stuff, hard work. And then I'm a self-learner. And then later on, I start to gain my experience and my passion in DFIR, cyber forensics, doing all kind of malware reverse engineering. So I like malware, I really like malware. And then my side job during my free time, as a fisherman, I go to sea, take some fish or whatsoever, do plant some potato whatsoever, and then mechanic, whatever I can do, I will do it. I like to travel. I've been in cyber industry for more than 10 years. Certification, Yeah, as I mentioned before, I have a GRAM, ITIL, and SA, and that's all. Not much from there. And I'm an active member of High Tech Crime Investigation Association, HTCA. This is not easy to join this organization. You need to be introduced by someone, as most of them are all policemen, law enforcement, all kind of cert team. So it's not easy to join this. So it's my opportunities in being introduced by my ex-boss, so I can become this part of the membership. So I've been a speaker for international and local events. So this is me, my old photo. So you can contact me later. JD Meister is my nickname. You can contact me through Telegram or Twitter on LinkedIn. So this just a quick of my humble journey. Previously in my student life, I've been a computer technician, part-timer. So this way I work in cyber cafe. I found a lot of malware during the time when I play around with the malware. And something happened during my life. So I just realized at the end of my semester, after I extend my study, so I take the wrong path of my life. So I should become an IT instead, 20% instead of engineering. So this one, when I graduate, I become a programmer. So I do some system, website whatsoever. And then I joined MyCert. And then this is where I met Mr. Adnan. And then I moved to Hewlett-Packard HP as a malware analyst for some time. And then this is where I start to learn incident response. So where I need to work late at night, bring shift 3 times cover from the morning for Malaysia time. After that, continue with the Europe time, and then continue with Malaysia, US time. So this is really tedious work for me. After that, I cannot stand. I moved to another company, which is located in France. It's called Ethos Security, but I work in Malaysia as part of CSET and forensic engineer. Later on, I joined as a cyber forensic specialist in the international bank. So this way we set up a cyber forensic lab from scratch, from nothing, from empty room, become a big one, and then after that we set up the team become bigger, and then we combine as DFIR team. So after that, this is what happened now. I'm joining Kaspersky as incident response specialist. So what DFIR? DFIR is digital forensics and incident response. It's different from discovery. So cyber forensic or traditional cyber forensic, like policemen or like some legal forensics, all kind of forensic in the other part of misconduct whatsoever in the other organization is called e-discovery. Why for the cyber forensics it's called digital forensic, or is the response is another part of the forensic. So DFIR, by introduction, meaning of DFIR is a field within the cybersecurity that focus on identification, investigation, remediation of cyber attack. So it's a specialized cybersecurity subfield, which is associated with a CERT team previously, and then now everyone have their own DFIR team in each organization, and which is they are being called to respond to any kind of cybercrime or similar emergency. DFIR sometimes relies on evidence found and file system, every operating system, information whatsoever they can find, and then they will start to do some construction on kind of evidence, do some timelining, and then find the root cause or where the data coming from. So there's a 4-part subpayment of DFIR. Firstly is incident response. This is where you find some organization they have only DFIR or incident response team, but no digital forensic. But this is the whole details about the DFIR, what DFIR is. Firstly is the response, which is entire incident of investigation cycle to complete mainnet and threat to your organization. So they are the people who the second line after the SOC, which they start to do investigation on each kind of security event incidents. So, Second is digital forensics. It's another next step after traditional digital forensics. So this is where we do analyze some digital evidence, logs, file system, memory whatsoever here, and to revealing the complete pictures of incident. Third is malware analysis. So malware analysis is where we got some malicious file, do some reverse engineering, find the IOC enhance whatsoever, and then give and then do some details on what happening on each incident. And the part is advisory and consultancy. This is where you can find in some consultation company or what other part of the where they ask for advisory. So we do something. We can advise us what we do something like that. This is where the response DFIR team come in and then give some advice or do some security tuning on that to the organization. Sometimes we are being called to court to testify or do some so-called expert testimony for or expert witness for each kind of incidents, especially involved in cybercrime whatsoever. Okay. So as Adnan mentioned before, there's a two-part blue team and red team. Actually, there's more. I don't know why it become more and more. I don't know how many color they want to do later. So normally what we know is only red team and blue team, but there's not nowadays they have another team called purple team, and then there's another part team called yellow team, green team, orange team, and other so on, black team whatsoever. But the DFIR is part of the blue team. So just like before, so what is the blue team? They will do some defensive security, information infrastructure for protection, damage control, incident response, operational security, threat hunters, digital forensics, while the other part of the red team do all kind of offensive stuff. Purple team is combination of two color, become one, and then do facilitate improvement in detection and defense. So they attack and then they start to get to find. So this is where you can fine tune of the security loophole whatsoever, and then they can sharpen the skill of blue team and red team members, and effective for spot checking system. So they know this is the loophole. You should patch this, something like that. So DFIR as a life as a DFIR specialist, curiosity kill the cat. So if you very curious about this job, it might kill you, not kill. But just kill you literally means that it's not easy job. So before I start, there's a top 10 coolest cybersecurity job in 2018. This is by sense. This all statistic. First one you see digital forensics analyst, and then pen test and all and so on. And then the SIG number is incident response. But DFIR is combination of these two, digital forensics and incident response. And another one is malware analyst. So this is the latest by sense 2020. So still in part of the top 20 coolest job in cybersecurity. Digital forensics, you can see here, malware analyst and incident response team. So incident life cycle. There is based on this, there are 4 life cycle of incident. First, you need to preparation, detection, analysis, containment, prediction, and recovery. And then the loop still going on here until the post of incident activity. So this is just the framework that we should follow in order for us to do incident response. Okay, incident response process. Nowadays, having incident response plan is no longer optional; it's a must. So every organization must have incident response team or plan. So because cybersecurity incident can happen anytime, can happen everywhere, can happen in any way. So it is no longer optional. So by following the 6 steps of sense incident response process, first preparation needed by before everything. So we need to have IR, so-called IR friendly environment. So everything in place so we can have a log, whatever we need, whatsoever. And then identification. So this is where I do identify the type of incidents. Containment, where we contain the incident happen, and then eradication where we eradicate the threats. Then after that, everything done, complete, we do some recovery. And then post-incidentivity is lesson learned. So what we listen, so we know there's a loophole. So attacker brute forcing this vulnerability, so we need to fix it, something like that. So where this 6 process is really needed in incident response. So no detection does not mean no attack. It might happen before or after. So even your system or security infrastructure does not detect, but this not mean that no attack at all. It might happen under the carpet, so we don't know. We need to check more. So now it's not the matter of if it happened, but when you can detect it. So anytime, whenever you after that, maybe after they leak your data, now you're able to detect it. Means that something happened. There's no need security tuning on your system. So security is about the whole process, from the preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and post-incident. So what is the objective of DFIR? First is to stop incident from spreading, limit the damage, and prevent further damage from happening. And then collection of evidence. So we collect evidence, we need to preserve everything. And then we start to analyze evidence and reconstruct the incident chronology and logic. So we need to do some timelining and then get all kind of evidence, so we know the attacker is coming from this side, is coming from this loophole whatsoever. And then if there is a malware found, so we need to perform malware reverse engineering and to enhance the IOC, so we can get the understanding how a piece of malware can operate, so that we can up the defense on our system. And then we need to reveal the source of attack, or in fact initial vector of attack if possible. And then if we need to perform some tool-aided scanning, perhaps the ARA tool whatsoever, to scan the whole system check is there any kind of possible sign of compromise, and analyze the outgoing connection from our network to external resources. If possible, there might be a command and control servers that somewhere from our organization to going out. Or later we need to provide recommendation. So there is some patch, or maybe we can develop some URL rules to our organization to do some scanning. We can recommend them to do some patching. It's because of this vulnerability this is why the incident happened, something like that. In the event of full domain compromises, it's recommended to conduct incident-related sensitive communication via a secure secondary channel of communication. So let's say after that the system been compromised whatsoever. So we know the system being compromised. We shouldn't use this kind of let's say use Microsoft Teams. Don't use it. Use somewhere else something else to prevent the attacker know what's happening in the system. Because what happened is this happened yesterday. Ragnar Locker able to took screenshot of the cyber incident war room. What happened? So they put out to the forum. So that's why we need the secure channel, a secondary channel to avoid this kind of thing happen. So DFIR is scary issue. If you think DFIR is a really interesting job, and then you think you want to become a DFIR specialist, so what we need? So first thing first, how you can become DFIR specialist? Most of the organization, they don't have a so-called DFIR specialist from fresh graduate. You can become DFIR specialist directly. No, most of the time, because it's one of the highest level in the organization. So in order to become DFIR specialist, you need first have experience in SOC and as a SOC analyst, or maybe you can start as a malware analyst or system or network administrator. I really like this thing because it's where I coming from. You need to have a solid foundation of the how system works, how the infrastructure, how the hardware works, whatsoever. Without this, you don't know. Let's say you give to this is a server. You know, we never see any server in your previous life. So how are you going to take out the hard disk from the server? Just pull it out, something like that. No, you need to have understanding or knowledge about the system. So you need to have a knowledge on network whatsoever. And then if you are coming from bug hunting, it's really good. You will know how to exploit system, so you know how to patch it or give some advisory on how to do it. Or as ethical hacker, you know how to hack into the system or how to penetrate to the system. So this kind of knowledge is really needed because we need someone who have a mindset as a attacker. And then penetration tester also good. Really, I've seen a lot of people from this offensive background, and then later on become a DFIR specialist. If you do have some programmer or developers knowledge before, it's really needed also because sometimes we do some scripting, automation, whatsoever. So this thing might make your job easier. So you are welcome to join the DFIR specialist later. Or if you're coming from this discovery or traditional forensic sector, your knowledge as digital forensic is needed. So this is where you can proceed later. Or cyber intelligence, just like Adnan or threat hunters, they are also welcome to become a DFIR specialist. Okay. Fresh graduate going into the cybersecurity industry, how we build up the portfolio. Yeah, just like I mentioned before, if you want to start journey as a cybersecurity, maybe you can do some kind of part-time projects like I do before. Maybe you can do hack the box kind of CTF things whatsoever. I think this is really good. Maybe you can have your own GitHub, develop some kind of tools. I've seen a lot of people do this nowadays. So based on DFIR DIVA, 47% of people working in incident response do both malware analysis and digital forensics investigation. Some organizations they have a separate team, so they have incident response team and then they have malware analysis team. Some of them they have a mix or some of them mix, but I think it's better to have both knowledge because you can go anywhere. Let's say I'm in Kaspersky. Kaspersky, some of you think that we only do malware reverse engineering, but no. Actually, Kaspersky they have a lot of team, and then they have do a lot of stuff. Even threat intelligence, they do incident response, malware analysis, digital forensics, so everything. If you have possessed all kind of knowledge, you can go everywhere. Everyone will start looking into you, and then they think you are available to the organization. So what the skill needed to become DFIR? First thing first, you must know how to analyze logs. So they give you maybe 1,000, maybe I think 10 gigs, the minimum, or 100 gigs of logs. So you need to have a log skill. Some sites command line, some sites grep, whatsoever. Or you can use Excel, or you can use any kind of tool that you needed. And then basic foundation of digital forensic, network forensic, you must know how to analyze some PCAPs, where you're coming from, how to decrypt the network, or so on. And then memory forensic, this is a must. So most of the time nowadays, especially let's say we take example of Mimikatz or LOLBin. So most of the time the attack happen on the memory side of the system. So you cannot retrieve by extracting from hard disk. You need to get the memory image and then do some memory dump and memory analysis in order to identify what happened in the system. Malware analysis and reverse engineering, yeah, you might not need totally reverse engineering skills, but malware analysis need a skill is needed because you might find a lot of malware nowadays. So at least you know how to analyze it. File system forensic, yes, you need to know file system forensic. So we talk about the shellback, we talk about link, we talk about the NTFS, we talk about image E01 whatsoever. This kind of file system forensic is needed. Doesn't matter which OS that you are working on, Mac OS, Linux, or Windows, anything. You give me Android, you give me iOS, whatsoever, I can do it. This kind of skill is needed. And then incident handling. So you need to know how to handle the incidents. You don't panic. You just smile, just be calm, and then do the works properly. This way how you handle incident. But people might shouting at you, but just keep calm. You know this kind of skill is good, and then you know how to handle incident properly, and then max you can think properly. Threat hunting and intelligence skill is needed if you know how to look into another system and look into another path, and then maybe you can use some intelligence skill to look into the other forums, so underground whatsoever. Scripting, yeah, might need scripting. You might need to do some at least batch script or Python. If you know Python, Golang or whatsoever is really good. You must need to have an understanding of system architecture. So as I said, you need to do investigation to the one organization where they have Azure, they have the kind of infrastructure where if you don't never touch Active Directory before, and how are you going to do investigation on that part? If you never do any kind of Linux infrastructure before, how you do analyze the Linux server, something like that. You need to have this kind of knowledge. System administration, yes, you need to have a system administration knowledge. At least you know how to open the file, the terminal, check into the system. But because last time I went to one organization where the system admin don't know how to check the time of the server. So you are system admin but don't know how to check the server. I just tell him go to the terminal, just type time. But he said how to open the terminal. You are system admin but you don't know how to open the terminal on the Linux server. So how I'm going to become a system admin like that? So this kind of skill is needed. And then you must have a skill to attention to detail, means that they give you thousands of logs and they give you a lot of resources, not only log, proxy logs, they are WAF logs, and then they give you SQL log, whatsoever. You have a lot of resources to need to look into. So you need to have skill to attention to detail. You need to be detailed and look into each kind of specific evidence, and then start to reconcile it to become the whole to get the whole picture of the incident. So this skill is needed. Problem solving skill. So you need things like the attacker. Say, okay, let's say so how the attack, you must think there's 5W, 1H, why, when, who, where, 5W and 1H and how. So you need to have a forensic skill, how they're going to the system, why they're doing this, where they get it, when they're doing it, what is W, I don't forgot, sorry, and how. So this thing you need to have skill, think like hacker. So you need to think out of the box, be creative sometimes, and then you should have an analytical and contextual thinking, means that you should follow. Let's say this is a proxy log. So what I should look into the proxy log. So this is a web server log. What should I look into the web server log? Times, cause of attack, IP, whatsoever. This thing is needed. You must have a contextual thinking, and then written and communication skill. Communication skill is not that needed, but later on you need to develop it. Written is needed because you need to write some emails to the stakeholder or some to other people that, or perhaps client whatsoever. So this skill is needed. Continuous learning, yes, you need to keep learning, don't stop. If you find any kind of resources, let's say Twitter, blogs, keep reading, and then you should have a high passion, because this job is not easy. So motivation is needed, passion is needed, and then never give up, slowly and steadily become a top specialist later on. Okay, what we have in our system, I call it DFIR toolbox. So we have a software or package that we need to become a DFIR specialist. First, acquisition tools. What tools you need to acquire the hard disk, FTK major. If you have some commercial tools like Encase or F-Response, or you use free tools like or S-Mounter, whatsoever, you can use it. Triage tool, maybe you can develop your own triage scripts, or you can use Velociraptor. You can have there's a lot of tool in the GitHub nowadays. So you just look into the DFIR triage tool. There's a lot of things you can use, or maybe you can script yourself. So memory forensics tool like volatility or Lime for Linux. There's more for the memory forensics tool, so you can use it. For myself, I like to use volatility workbench, so I don't want to use command line. I just pop into the memory into the volatility workbench, run it, click, done. You get the whole memory analysis later. So easy compared to type. Every time you need to type everything. So sometimes I'm too lazy to do that. Malware analysis tool. So if you talk about malware analysis tool, I think we need to have a split session for that. It's very long list to do malware analysis tool, but I really recommend you to look into the Flare VM. There's a lot of stuff in there. It's a framework developed by Mandiant of II, where this thing you have on top of it. Microsoft Windows, you can put a lot of software in that and do some analysis on that part. Network forensics tool, iShark is your friend. Maybe you have a command line T-Shark or other kind of TCP dump command line skills is really needed. Suricata, or maybe you know any kind of other tools. You might use it. There's no restriction on how you're doing the tools, the works, but you need to have a framework. So this is the kind of tool you need, but you can use whatever tool that you want. And live forensics tool is but let's say we have distro, so you just put into the Linux bootable disk into the system, and then you can do some live forensic on that part. Log analysis tool. So log analysis tool, you can use command line. You can use Excel, for example. I just use Excel is much more easier, or Notepad++ or any kind of tool. In the internet artifact analysis tool, maybe you can use NetSoft. NetSoft, a lot of tools that you can use. I really like NetSoft. You can use internal tools, or if you can pay for the magnesium, just use it. File system processing tools, Experiment is your friend. You can use Experiment tools, KP or CAP, or any kind of file system processing tool, AutoSpy, whatever, is really good tools. Windows artifact analysis tool, there's a lot of things there. You just search for that. There's a lot more. I will share the link later. Timelining tool, Timescache, or Excel. I like Excel more. So mobile forensics tool, let's say you have Mob SF, or you can use previously people use Cellbrite. It's very expensive tool. So Cellbrite, Oxygen, whatsoever. Visualization tool is your friend. So you can use VirtualBox, you can use Hyper-V, you can use VMware. Decryption tool, there's a lot of tools here. For example, I use Cyberchef. Cyberchef come with a lot of tools, but decryption tool, they come with also with decryption tools. So make my job easier. Cloud forensics tool, there's a lot of things in the link later. Malware Sandbox tool, you can use a free or paid version of Malware Sandbox. IOC scanner like Tor, Loki, and Yara, you can use that. OSINT tools, so there's a lot of multi-go whatsoever. So this thing is really neat for you. Or maybe you can go to the like Risk IQ or other part of the system that you can use for the OSINT to get gathering the information. Retro hunt tools, let me take a, for example, you can use VirusTotal. If you have VirusTotal intelligence, you can do some retro hunting on the part, or hybrid analysis. Every hybrid analysis comes with a retro hunt capability. Or you can retro hunt means that you look into the back side of the things. Let's say, you know what happened, you have this kind of intelligence here, but you need to go back for a few years later. So you can do some correlation on that kind of thing. So retro hunt is needed. EDR is meaning that endpoint detection and response. So it's endpoint tools. We talk about the commercial tool, for example, FireEye, Kaspersky come with also the ourselves. You will talk about CrowdStrike and other stuff, or you can use Velociraptor. Velociraptor is a good tool. It's a free open source. You can deploy in your organization, especially for the academic organization. So you can use this Velociraptor. Reporting tools, for example, you need to do some reporting. So Microsoft Word is your friend to do some reporting, or you can use some portal, MISP, Hive, whatsoever. This tool is needed for you to write the report later. Distros, like I said, for the Linux. For Linux, most of them come with Linux to do your works. So distro is your friend. Distro means a Linux distribution. So, for example, Can or Sense Forensics, Sense tools. They come with some distro. Password recovery tools, John the Ripper. What else? The password you can use for recovery, the password. Sometimes you have the attacker you have evidence where the attacker used Microsoft Words with a malicious macro, but there's a password in order to view the macro code. So normally I use password recovery tool, put into it, I get the unencrypted version of the document, so I can analyze the macro words later. Data recovery tools, there's a lot of tools nowadays, so you can recover, let's say the file been deleted, you can recover back. Some Linux analysis tool, yeah, you need to have a Linux analysis tool or Mac analysis tool. Sometimes you can encounter with Mac. Nowadays, Mac is not still a lot of malware nowadays. I just talk about the malware related Mac OS malware back in February. So there's a lot of Mac incident nowadays, so we can use that. Or all-in-one tools like Magnet Axiom or Soft Evidence Center. This kind of tool become a lot of things. You just click, do all kind of analysis, something like that. So what we do, let's say we need to do investigation on site. Let's say this organization does not allow you to do work remotely. So this is what we do. We bring this big box, come with a lot of stuff here. What we put inside most of the time, red blocker, maybe a network tab like this. Some USB drive, which I have here, a really big one. Sorry, it's a blue one. Oh, it's a like this photo. It's really big. This is my photo, by the way. We have a lot of tools here, so we can plug it later on site. Let's say you need to go to data center, you need to collect evidence. So you need to have this kind. Let's see, this Can, this HIREN subsidy, and then other stuff. And then duplicator, you might need duplicator. And then this is your friend to open up the server, to open the hardware, so external hard disk. And then if you have some money to buy this virtual processing suite, so you can go into the system without the password. Let's say this Windows have a password, so you need this tool to bypass the password protection to get the evidence. So these things needed. So what the challenges you need to face if you need to become the DFIR specialist? So first thing, you might find the lack of evidence when you come to the infrastructure, and then you find out, oh, the block has been deleted yesterday, or system being crashed already, or maybe we already refreshed the system, so we cannot get anything, or maybe some legalization. So this is China, you cannot bring your system to China, you need to fly over to China and then do some investigation there. So this is the restriction that we sometimes face, or maybe the case is being handled by police, so you cannot touch anymore, something like that. So this kind of challenges sometimes we face, but it's still okay for me. So when we get start from back from top bottom, then we go to the top, the stress level also increase. Okay. Sorry. So unknown threat actor, you don't know who is the attacker. You don't know the TTP or tools, techniques, or procedure that may be used by attacker. So it's nothing. There's no source information for you to dig more. And the stress level start increase. So you don't need to dig more, need to find more, do a lot of side job in order to understand the pattern, the attack source whatsoever. So you have a lack of time. You don't have rest anymore. Maybe your friend all on leave, so you only the only one who works on that month or weeks. So become not enough resources. No one can help you. So the stress level become stress more. So sometimes you become nobody can disturb me nowadays. I need to do my works. I need to finish this. Sometimes people start asking, "Where you can give me the report, forensic report?" So I don't have time. I have 4 more or 5 more cases on my plate already. Cannot. It's just too busy right nowadays. And then budget constraint, same way you ask your boss, I need to buy this thing. I need to have staff. I need to have software. They said no budget. We already at the end of the year, so cannot do anything. So now you can start to face all pressure from your side. So this is really challenges for you. And then super panic top management, where the top management suddenly come from the top straight to you, do your work. I need to do this job immediately, so need to get it done first. Let's say this client is a VIP person. You need to is some artist or maybe some kind of top influencer. So you need to get the job done as fast as possible. So now with the lack of resources, lack of budget, this is where the challenges really need to go through. So this is where the skill before, where you need to keep calm, need to become more patient on your job in order for you to proceed more. Okay. Okay, how to become the DFIR specialist? So first thing first, certification. Yeah, if you have budget or you have opportunity to gain this kind of certification, please do so. Let's say you have an opportunity to have a CompTIA Security Plus certification, just go for that. You might learn a lot for that. I think it's really worth your money. And then trainings, yeah, a lot of training. Yeah, I like to go to the DFIR training, Udemy, free. Sometimes you're free or sales on that part. Other sites are very zero automated. This one I subscribe myself. All kind of link I share here is I will share the slide later. It's all clickable, so you can click and then you can learn more here. And then RE for beginner, they say it's RE for beginner is for beginner. By the way, the book is like this. I don't know if you can see it. It's really thick book. RE for beginner. It's not for beginner, by the way, but it's good for you to learn. And then if you want to read more, you can go to Kaspersky skill list. I want to homework because there's a lot of stuff there. You can read more. Sometimes we share the IOC, not only the IC, the step how to analyze that with some hash whatsoever. You can follow that. Start me a lot of resources, black sheet information, my analysis. If you want to learn my network forensic, you can go to my network traffic analysis, the DFIR report. This GitHub, all the stuff is awesome, really awesome, I guess. Lot of stuff you can click there later. You can find a lot of link, tools whatsoever, some slide. So really good. Free malware sandbox, any run or other stuff. Okay. If you want to read books, yeah, it's a book written by my boss, Consultancy. This way I start to learn how to do FIR on the remote side. So these books you can find in, you can buy it, or if you don't have money, you can go to a Sambal bundle. Sometimes they do sell very cheap at $1 for the whole package of books. So maybe you can share with your friends, something like that. or go to Apple Books, Kinokuniya. I have a lot of books here. By the way, some of the books here I bought it previously. So it's where reading is part way to become knowledgeable. So I think you should read this book. So give me, I don't know if I have time or not. Oh my God. Okay, let me talk about the in fast Kaspersky, what we are doing. So we are distributed to the whole world. I'm the only one in APAC. So our approach is followed by NIS. We speaking English, Arabic, a lot of language, including Malay. And then we possess a lot of certification. Sorry. So we discover this all kind of malware previously. And then we are part of the Cybersecurity, Kaspersky Cybersecurity Services. So we do three works: digital forensics, the response, and malware analysis, whether on-site or remote site. And then this is how we do. We do start the initial requests from customer. We do evidence collection. We do start analyze the evidence, and then start do analysis and report preparation. We kick off the call, evidence collection, on-site or off-site, with the evidence analysis, remediation plan, and tool-aided scanning on network resources. Let's say use RIARA tools or free tools to do scanning, report preparation. So we talk about the last year incident. So as you can see here, start with Russia or and then Commonwealth. What we call it? I think they're all ex-Soviet countries. Is 27.8, and then the European Union is followed by Asia Pacific and Africa. So the incident, what happened last year, I think most of them is industrial part of work incidents, and then government also we see a lot. And then where the increase of the government, I think nowadays from the previous year, I think increased, and then we also see increase in the telecom. But our industrial, nowadays we see the decrease of incidents, and then financial also become lesser. Reason why we need our services needed because of the incident nowadays, ransomware, especially a lot of ransomware incidents. As you can see here also, where the industry that we infected is all kind of data leakage and ransomware, and then for the healthcare, most of the time they decide to steal the patient information and then sell it to underground. And then ransomware, I think, increase, and then also how they attack the system through brute force, and then because of the weak password and no patch on the system, all system, so the attacker are able to exploit the public-facing application. But nowadays we see the malicious email being sent to the system lesser. So it's appropriate to have a patch management to the system to avoid this kind of attack. So what the use exploit in incident nowadays, again, because of the system not being patched, you can see all exploit being used. This very old exploit, 3 years, but people still using it. The attackers still using it because lack of patch in the system and in the organization. So what the tool being used by the attacker? We can see a lot of Cobalt Strike, C-script, Impacket, PowerShell, is exact, and then you can see also this the way they use discovery, Advanced malware scanner, mesh scanner, and BT scanner. And then we can see also the credential access being used, Mimikatz, LOLBill, Power Tool, Power Prod Dump. And then they also make use of the Power Tool and Process Hacker. This is a legitimate tool, by the way. So and then they make use of PuTTY and RDP TeamViewer for the command line, for to connect to command C2 server. And then they I see they use WinRAR. Yesterday there's a new case happened, so I see they make use of WinRAR as a part of to do some collection and send data out. So what happened most of the time, the detection is before the impact, no, most of the time we are unable to detect it. So most of the time because after the impact. So this is why I said detection does not mean no attack. No detection does not mean no attack. So the attack duration most time for the ransomware is the fastest one. Most of the time, this 1.5 days, they already take the data, everything. And then also for average, around 1 to 18 days, we can see there's a lot of ransomware money theft. It took the system. And then for the data leakage or APT is much more longer. So for us to do investigation for the ransomware on 34 hours, and then the longer the longer period of attack, the longer for us to do investigation. So the initial attack vector being used, let's say for the rush hours, brute force, exploit, spear phishing, and then for the average type of attack, normally they use this kind of attack, exploit, vulnerable, spear phishing also. And then for the long lasting, like say PT or any kind of state sponsor attack, they use this kind of initial vector. So true positive is always, we see a true positive, but false positive is always, and then but we also see a lot of true positive have been encrypted nowadays, become increased. Ransomware is everywhere. And then because so suspicious network activity is increased on false positive, but it's worth to us to analyze the false positive. Sometimes it become true positive later. So I don't know, I have a time for. So sorry, can I have 10 minutes more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We don't have time limit.
Okay. I think I have a few slides more. Okay, let me talk about the example case. This happened for where the attacker make use of the resource system for mining. So this example from the VPN from our big retailer network, I can expose what they are. So the malware being deployed to the big retailer network, then lemon duck, this the attacker or threat actor, they use known for use for crypto mining purposes. Normally they attack for the Microsoft Exchange server. So they make use of Eternal Blue vulnerability. It's a very old vulnerability. I don't know why this generation does not patch the system. So this is what happened. The attacker use different technique to propagate and execution. And the malware is very modular, means that they have come with some few modules. So this the steps. So normally what they do is come with a constructor using a PowerShell. So the malware, they have a module propagation to do propagation, and then the other module is to do the mining part. And then this module malware killer is to kill all kind of detection tools. Let's say you have antivirus, whatever, they can disable it. And then they come with to check is there any existence of NVIDIA driver. So they can make use of that to do mining. And then after that, they use that system also for spamming. So they can propagate to another part of the world. And then this module for signature, and then collect everything for the mining. And then for reporting, they also check for the OS version, driver list. Is it the malware run as administrator? So they start to they have some kind of malware minor version of the system, IP address, whatsoever. A lot of stuff here. So another part, the example that we see previously, where they make use of CVE 2020-07-87, and also we talk about the legitimate tool being used. They may be misused by the attacker. So this is where we can see there's some tool being used by the attacker. First, this ransomware incident on the client premise. So the premises from our team confirmed that there's a different privileged domain account that have been compromised. So what they do is the attacker deactivate the security agent. They have a security agent or EDR and other antivirus in the system. The attacker disable it first before they deploy the malicious payload or malware. And then after deep investigation, we confirm that the initial entry point is coming from the infrastructure on Citrix network. So, and then we found out that the system is very outdated server, and then they deploy application for network scanning and remote control. And then we are confirmed that the character is Sodium Rival ransomware, where they exploit this vulnerability along with RDP and Red tool. Red tool is remote access control tools. Any question? I will answer later on. Okay. For the Citrix, so this is how they do. So the first thing, they do RDP access and to this account. Actually, this account has been compromised before. So what they do is they escalate themselves as a local administrator and create the account as local administrator. Where after that they create multiple username for that system, and then start to install the RMS, is a remote management system. Then later they do some they install the advanced port scanner to scan the whole system, and then they start to run remotely the pastebin from the Sodium ransomware from pastebin. And then after, what happened is they do some deactivation on the system using the privileged account. This is the URL. There's 122 URLs being used by the attacker for the C2. After the system has been compromised, the ransomware has been run. The system has been encrypted. They create another system called for domain user creation. The AD has been compromised and data being transferred out. They also do the so-called data leakage or exfiltration. So it's around 3.6 gigabyte data being transferred to the C2 server. And then at the same time, they also install the RMS installation for them to do propagation network lateral movement to another side of network. So this way, this Kaspersky already being called and then start do investigation. So actually, this incident only happened in 3 days. Very fast, as I said, is for the ransomware kind of attack. Normally, they're very fast, around 1.5 hours a day to 5 days only. So this is what happened. And then on the other days, last day before the attack being stopped, then that 3.6 data has been transferred out by the attacker. As you can see here, they make use of some of the legitimate tools to do attack, like such as RDP, RMS, advanced port scanner, and other stuff. So I think let's just almost done. So just talk about Kaspersky, what we're doing. We cooperate with Interpol, so do some trainings or whatsoever. And then we also collaborate with part of Europol and other stuff. So why the attack happened? So because of the attack curve and then lack of training, security tuning on the system patch management, legitimate administration utilities, and then offline backup. Sometimes offline backup does not help you because the attacker will disable all this kind of volume shadow copy and then other stuff. So you need to have other type of backup and on the other side of the system. Need to develop your knowledge and security profile. And work from home, I think approach should be secure. Nowadays, a lot of people working from home, study from home. It's very dangerous nowadays, but I think it's needed for our safety. But security checking and testing before deploying system from the admin side is needed. And then remote management from public access is needed. And then we also see that log retention period sometimes not enough, but nowadays, because of the work from home, the log retention period become longer. And then to stack like EDR is I think needed nowadays, and people start to use it. And then victim oriented and only recover from the past. So the initiative we do to do this, what we do in Kaspersky is, so we have a cyber capacity building program, third-party management, assessment, bug bounty. If you can do some hacking or cracking, you can do to join this part of bug bounty program. Transparency Center, where we share some intelligence to the organization for data recollection. Nowadays, we put our data in Zurich. And then our geography, we located in the whole system, on the whole world. So not only in Malaysia or in Russia, but we also in part in the whole world. So this we have more than 4,000 specialists, and then 1/3 that our employees are R&D specialists, and then 40 plus are leading security experts. So if you're interested to join Kaspersky, you can go to Kaspersky career. There may be kind of opportunity there. If you want to become an internship there, maybe, but I don't know if they have in APAC. Now there's more on the Europe part and especially in Russia. I think that's all from me. So any question, let me check the question. Okay.
One from our from our speakers. Right.
Okay,
so
Adnan.
on the market, right, especially for fresh graduates. Right. Most of the employer would prefer analysts who know a little bit of everything, or an analyst who focus on one domain of DFIR.
I think for the FIR, especially if you talk about the FIR, most of the time we don't judge only one only focus on the. We prefer someone know everything, but if we cannot find someone who know everything, that is, you know, one domain of the FIR. Let's say you know malware analyst, maybe you join later because we can teach you on the other part of the skills. If you only know incident response is good, then you can also join us later, where we can teach you on the malware reverse side or digital forensic side. Still flexible for us.
So yeah, that's why from your sharing, I think some of the students or fresh graduate might be tiba-tiba terkejut wah, need to learn so many things, need to read so many books, and you are well prepared to share the resources later on, right? So for students, don't worry, don't get frightened, So yeah, right. So yes, Zaidi will share the resources there, yeah, as you can see in the chat, right? So what I get it from this session was at first, very thank you for sharing the incidents, the sample incidents. I think all this sharing can be get from books or in their university life, right? So I mean, it's easy to just prepare a report based on what the lecturers has tell us to do, right? Just Google up and see, right, compared to a proper commercial one, right? And I think Zaidi has mentioned a very important thing, which is fundamentals is important, right? Especially, for example, understand a technology, or understand the services, or understand the so-called servers, right? I mean, even networks, IP addresses, where this attacker comes from is also quite important, right? And as advice, keep calm, smile, and respond. That's the most key takeaway that I get from. And to my surprise, even Microsoft Word can be our good friend. I also learned something new today. All right. Yeah. So yeah. Any questions from the floor? I think some of them might be overloaded by what they're supposed to.
Sorry.
No, not say overloaded. I think because yes, this as you mentioned, the requirements as a DFIR is not as easy as the expectation is at a different level, I guess, because we never know what happened. Especially when it comes to incidents. I still remember there's one sharing that even on the road, we see someone fall down, we also react, we also respond to someone fall down. That's also an incident. So yes, so when it comes to cyber, where we can't see, we can't touch, that's even more abstract and more, we need to be more well prepared for that. Yeah. All right. While waiting for the last question, or any question, there's one question. Right, from our collaborator Berhad. Right, considering to be a DFIR specialist, the person required to know a lot of things. Is it easy to get burned out easily?
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't talk about. Actually, the real life of incident response specialist. Actually, this depend on the incidents. Sometimes you are very relaxed, you go do nothing, because most of the time the cases handled by level 1 or level 2. And then we are the top tier of the organization. So the lesser the case, but this is the harder case you get. So most of the time you get unknown case. So if there is no pressure from top management, I think you are happy to do everything. But there is sometimes the top management coming, the CISO call you directly. You need to get this done by today. I think then you can burn out easily. It's up to you. Yeah, it's about the incident, what you are doing and which organization you are.
Yeah. Right. So as our previous speaker Adnan said, healthy is the most important thing for nowadays. All right. So yeah. All right. Before we end, as mentioned earlier on, before we start the session, especially for students here, please spread around across your friends. This camp is called Global Cybersecurity Cam, right? And it consists of 8 countries, participating countries. Malaysia is one of them. So if I remember correctly, if I can list down correctly, like what Zaidi mentioned about the 5W1H, I also can't list the countries properly now. Australia, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. So these 8 countries participating, they will send trainers every year, right? And the students are not charged on anything, right? They will join, depends on the session. So depends on the country, how they host it. So for this year, because it's virtual, so they'll take up a few weekends. So in 2018, it was in Tokyo. It's a 5-day straight, 1 full week of security camp. So hope that you can spread among your friends, spread this news, not spread virus, spread this news among your friends. Regarding this, the website is there. All right, and to participate, you can send an email or your CV to the email as mentioned in the chat over here. Right, so hope to see you soon. All right, we'll just wait for another few seconds to see if we have any last questions. Right. If no, then that's all for today. Hopefully that we'll see you in next few weeks on the next upcoming session. So thank you very much for the speakers today. Right, even though as a working adults, me as a professional, I also learned quite a lot of things today. All right, I'm busy making my notes for the past 2 hours. All right, and hope that see everyone soon and take care. All right, and for students, all the best in your studies. All right, seniors are here to help you. All right, they are willing to help. All right, and guide you from where you are now. All right, thank you all the speakers for your precious time and see everyone soon. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.